What up? Angsty here. So just recently, a very kind viewer hit me up kind of out of the blue and asked me if I wanted to buy a mod that is kind of unusual and rare, and people are always after it. And I've never actually seen one in person. So I said thank you and yes. And I just want to take this moment to say thank you to the anonymous user that hooked me up to buy this thing. So this mod, let's get to it. It's the SVA Kimaera. It's SVA is who makes it. If you don't know SVA, they're an Italian company that have been making squonkers for a very long time. And if you don't know what a squonker is, it's a mod that has an atomizer that's either specialized or has a bottom feeding pin, and it allows you to drip from the bottom by squeezing a little bottle instead of dripping from the top like a savage. It is absolutely the more elegant way to drip. So the SVA, very unusual, very cool, and I wanted to check it out. And once I got it, I was like, you know what? I should probably show people, because you don't see reviews of these kinds of things, and that's one of the things we like to do here on Plumes of Hazard. Now, as far as reviewing a mod, there's only so much I can tell you now. I kind of just want to show it to you. So let's go up tight and see what's going down. Alright, hey, what up? So, I normally am not a big fan of the whole unboxing thing, but that said, I do find, especially when you're paying this much money for a piece of gear, to at least know what comes with it. So this is how it comes. This is the SVA Kimaera box. It's kind of a thin cardboardy kind of box, which is very reminiscent of the actual regular SVA, like the penguins and stuff. That you can also get from them. Inside of here, we've got a couple cards saying this is Giacomo's business card, and this is how the batteries go in, which I've already covered with you. And this is a little kind of a fleecy kind of case with like a little drawstring and stuff in it. That's cool. I haven't used it, but it's neat that it's there. You also get in this little adapter guide. We'll talk about that in just a moment. All right, so unboxing done. Here is the SVA Kimaera. It is a very cool looking mod in general. That's the first thing I want to say. It looks very, very nice. It's very comfortable in the hand as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. So I think it looks nice. And the first thing that with the whole overhangs and this kind of thing, it actually kind of reminded me of a Doric column. I said it looked architectural was the first thing I said, and then I was like, the reason it looks like that is because it looks like a column. Kind of a Greek column. So that's what it looks like to me. I think it's very comfortable in the hand. It's taller than I'm used to than some of the mods. It's not a whole lot, but by a few millimeters taller. But it's also skinnier, and the button is taller, and so that actually ends up making it very comfortable when you put it in your hands, especially if you've got gorilla sort of big man hands like I do. It's a very comfortable mod. I actually have really enjoyed the form factor of holding it and using it. As far as what it's made out of, the sides here, all the way around the sides, are all kind of a brushed matte Delrin, and that's done for durability. And if you ever do get like any scratches, you can actually kind of work them out either with your fingers, or if they're a little deeper than that, you can use a little VGA, from what I understand, to kind of lightly buff those out. Because it's SVA, I have to assume that the carbon fiber accents on the faceplate as well as the battery tube are legitimate actual carbon fiber, not vinyl stickers. Now, that may not be, maybe a little flashy for me these days. I probably would have liked that a few years ago personally, but they are there. They are nice looking, and they're relatively understated because it's all nice and black there on this faceplate. Now, you'll also notice here we have our fire button. And we've got a DNA 40 in this one, and I believe they're all DNA 40s. I don't think they put any goatees in there yet. But on the bottom, you'll notice the adjustment buttons are down at the bottom, which I really always like, because that cleans up the mod for all the normal use stuff, right? The only thing you really use all the time is the squonk bottle and the fire button. The adjustment buttons can be hidden a little bit, and you won't have to actually it's not here cluttering up stuff and looking kind of goofy. I actually really like that. These are super nice and clicky, unlike the fire button, and we'll talk about that later. This fire button is, P. Basardo would not be giving this a button award. It is basically flush and very small, but we will get to that later. But I just wanted to show you what it is. And I mean, if you look at that, we shouldn't get to it later. I should just tell you now. That button is very small, very light, and there's no discernible click when you press it. That's firing it, and it doesn't move. It's just sort of giving it pressure. I mean, it might move a 1/4 millimeter. It literally is barely discernible. And that's what using like my finger, the end of my index finger. When I'm firing this with my thumb, my big sausagey thumb, I just sort of meh and hope it works. And it works most of the time, but sometimes it doesn't. And that is, to me, a big bummer. So I do want to mention that and make sure that I mention that. That is, there are some people that I'm sure are going to love that button. I am not one of them. That button's pretty infuriating. Now, that said, the adjustment buttons on the bottom, very clicky. Very little snappy and clicky, and they're hidden, and I love them. They're very, very cool. If those buttons had been here... Anyway, we also have our brass battery cap and a brass cap covering our bottles, and we'll get to that in just a moment. I want to show you the 510 as well. So here's the 510. Of course, it's using the SVA 510, which is my favorite 510 for squonking. I have never had the thing leak. I have only had it work really well, and it is manually adjustable. It is not spring-loaded. You have to get a little screwdriver in there and adjust it. It is reverse-threaded. And if you want some more information about that, you can go hit up Sean, or Understudy77 has got a video guide on our YouTube channel that'll kind of bring you through the teardown of the SVA 510. It also got an optional little O-ring at the top to kind of help you save your from battery halo or battery swirl, which I think is really cool. So here at the bottom, let's look at the battery first. So once we get the battery out of there, thread's very good, by the way. You can see that we're spring loaded. Now it's a very weird sort of setup because there's a spring in the bottom, but your positive goes towards the spring. It's a little weird, but that's why there's a card in the box, I guess, to make sure you know that. Also, that's got a little muggy in there, but it does work really, really well. So that guy goes in like this, nice bouncy battery spring. Now, thread's really good on the caps. They catch pretty easily and they thread really smoothly. But on the subject of the old battery, now I don't always use my mod like a maraca, as Todd would say, but it does, I mean, very easily rattle, and that's a bit of a bummer because this is, besides that, feels like a very solid mod, but when you have something that rattles inside of there like that, in my opinion, it does make it feel kind of cheap. It doesn't give it the air of quality that I think it deserves. So that's a little disappointing. Now let's go on to the bottle system. The bottle cap's kind of cut out really cool, makes it really easy to get out. And also, I assume to drain juice if something catastrophic ever happened. That has not happened to me at all. Now, if you're used to squonking, you know that the squonk bottles normally look like this, right? This is one of the super sauce buttons or bottles, which used to be the standard, and then you got a bit of flexible tubing that goes up to your 510. This one's a little bit different, and it doesn't always come out like this. So I'm gonna palm check it real quick, so the bottle comes out, and put this to the side. So we have a same super soft bottle, but we've got this little adapter guy in the top, and that also houses your tubing. But what this does is it kind of eliminates that flexible tubing that's the connector to your mod, which is really nice because what that allows you to do is just more easily get this up into your mod and not have to worry about getting that tube attached to your 510 perfectly the first time. And by taking that apart, I have made a bit of a mess, so I'm wiping that off. Okay, so this is the highlight of that. So this little now rigid adapter, and by the way, you do get 2 of them, at least I did, in the package. This little rigid adapter just slides onto that nut, and instead of having it kind of like get things lined up and go, which isn't that bad, and I do it on all my other squonkers, this is just you slide it up in there and you click it into place. I find that super cool. Super, super cool. I really dig it. So we're going to put this back on there. And I got to stop and think, is there anything else that I can show you about this thing? I don't know that there is. We got a DNA 40 inside. We've got a nice battery tube. We've got the accents. We've got the stuff. We've got a quality 510. We've got a super cool bottle system. I think that's about it. So, welcome back up top. So, SVA Kimaera. That's a good tour around the whole thing. This mod is, you know what? One of the things I didn't say is how, or kind of where you can get it. Unfortunately, you kind of can't. Apparently, from what I understand, they made 10 of them, and then they made up to 50, and then they made 100, and that was over like the last 9 months or more. So you kind of can't find them, and when you do find them, I believe the retail price is $600. So, if you know me or Sean or us in general, we don't mind. We're hobbyists. We don't mind laying out some money for a quality bit of gear. But I will say that these things are very difficult to get a hold of, and when you do, even the retail price is expensive, and they flip for more or trade for more. So, it is what it is. Like I said, I have purchased multiple mods that cost a lot of money, and I'm okay with it. You might not be. It's just a data point. Just FYI. So this thing, the short of it is that kind of the goods and the bads. The good parts are it's very comfortable in the hand. I think it looks really cool. I think I mentioned before it looks like a kind of a Doric column. So kind of something like that. The button is higher on the mod, which I find comfortable in my hand as well. In general, it feels very solid as long as you're not moving it too much and see some of that battery rattle. But besides that, it's built really well. There's no like gaps. There's no obvious machining problems or anything like that. This thing it's built very well in general. It's got the dual squonking holes, which actually I find pretty cool. In general, and then it's got the super cool bottle system, which we showed you as well. Here's a couple of things that I don't find so cool. The battery rattle, we talked about that. I don't particularly find it comfortable to squonk without moving my hand, so I typically squonk and fire with my thumb. That's just the way I do it, and in order to do that and squonk it, you kind of got to double your finger back really bad, and it's not comfortable for my fingers, and I can't imagine if somebody's fingers are longer, that's any better. I think it's probably meant to be fired like trigger fire, because if you're trigger firing it, it's a lot more comfortable to get down and squonk it. Now, of course, if you're thumb firing, you can obviously rotate it out and squeeze like that. It works. You just have to move it a little bit, and some people are probably okay with that, especially people that are side squonkers in the door. People are used to that, so if you're used to it, fine. It probably won't bother you at all. I like edge squonking, like on the Evo and the Dia. So I'm used to squonking here. In fact, I've pushed on the carbon fiber tube I don't know how many times as I've been testing this, trying to squonk it, which obviously doesn't work. The other thing that's a little bit kind of silly, I find all the branding, kind of a large branding on both sides, to be a little much on such a nice, well-made, expensive mod. I know what it is. I don't need to see it written twice large. The other thing that's kind of a silly con is the requirement to use the old super soft bottles, and these things were awesome a few years ago, right? And even up to about a year ago. But once you go and try the Sunbox Cappy bottles, these silicone bottles are so soft and supple and nice to touch, so to speak. Going back to something like this is actually kind of somewhat annoying. So then there's the last part, which is that fire button, man. That fire button, to me, I mean, that's your primary interface with any mod. And with Squonker, obviously you've got the bottle too, but your primary interface is your fire button. And the fact that has got like no tactile feedback to me, and it's flush, it's a deal killer for me personally. And that's my opinion. Again, like I said before, I'm sure there's people that are going to love this thing and love the button because they like how sleek and cool it looks, because it definitely looks sleek and cool. But for me, I need to know when it's firing. I want to know every single time when it's firing. That said, this is never, ever, ever going to fire in your pocket because it doesn't protrude whatsoever. So there it is. So should we roll it up to whether or not you should pay flipper prices for this? No. I think paying flipper prices for anything is dumb. You should look for them and try to find them at retail, as long as you don't mind the possibility that your button looks like this. Now, I have talked to a couple guys that own these, and their buttons are slightly more proud and have slightly more click to them than mine does. Maybe yours will be better. I don't know. Man. End of the day, is it a nice mod? Yes, it is. Would I pay flipper prices for it? No, I would not. Is the bottle system cool? Yes, it is. Is SVA cool? Yeah, they are. That's all I got. There you go. Peace. The whole thing is pretty cool. You can squeeze on one side, but this works best, in my opinion, when you squeeze on both. Oh, look. Oh my god, I have messed this whole segment up.